Hello, I'm Scott Sipker.
And I'm Kelly Kramer. Welcome to the Loess Hills of Western Iowa.
And this warm, late summertime edition of Iowa Outdoors.
Coming up on this edition of Iowa Outdoors, we head towards the flames in western Iowa, where firefighters from across the nation are training to battle prairie fire within the Loess Hills.
We explore Stone State Park near Sioux City and venture to an innovative playscape at Central Iowa's Jester Park.
We'll also showcase how to capture fireflies at dusk, even with your camera.
And we'll spend some quality time in the treetops with Arborist Jeff Grewe, whose passion for pruning is matched only by a photographic appreciation of the Loess Hills at night.
We'll have all that and more.
So sit tight. Iowa Outdoors is about to begin.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors was provided through a REAP Conservation Education Program grant. Up to $350,000 are available annually to support educational projects about Iowa's natural resources. Information is available at www.iowadnr.gov.
By Musco Lighting, the sports lighting specialist, providing lighting systems for you, your project, and your community.
Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on IPTV can be found in Iowa Outdoors magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.
Welcome to Northwest Iowa and Stone State Park, a scenic, hilly destination located near Iowa's fourth largest metro area, Sioux City.
The park resides within the silty confines of the Loess Hills, a geological rarity that runs along much of our state's western border.
In just a few minutes, we'll show you more of Northwest Iowa's nearly 1,300-acre Stone State Park.
But first, we'll head south along the narrow and sloped ridgelines of the Loess Hills,
where an interagency task force is training and retraining the front line in our nation's ongoing battle with wildfires.
It's a unique skill set for prairie fire protection, an ability to identify fuel types, prepare planned burning operations, and maintain safety of an entire crew.
It's where flames and teamwork culminate in prairie conservation and education. A team of firefighters from across the country have gathered along the ridgelines of northwest Iowa. Here on the bluffs overlooking Ottawa, a plan, days and weeks in the making, is coming into focus.
The plan is to start right here and nurse the fire down, and when I say nurse, I mean we're igniting right along the control line, letting it work into the unit, and we will have holding resources that are checking the backside to make sure we don't have anything over there, making sure we don't have anything creeping through.
Pottawatomie County Natural Resource Specialist Chad Grewe is leading one of a handful of elite teams through advanced interagency training in prescribed fire.
We're moving 3 to 5 feet at a time initially, just to see what we're dealing with here. This is a little bit stronger wind than we've been dealing with. This just picked up about 5 minutes ago. And so it is what it is, and we'll play with it.
I'm going up to 9, 6 to 9, make that 6 to 10, make that 6 to 11.
Battling increasing winds and the lingering effect of drought in early summer months, safety comes first. Equipped with firefighting ATVs and drip torches, each member carefully works a fire line designed hours in advance. Long before dozens of trainers and trainees climb the Loess soil, they carefully map out a battle plan for the day's burn.
So there's a network of ridges in here, and we've labeled them like roads. Okay, so the ridges are going to be like roads, and it's going to be really important to understand that so we can communicate and coordinate, and everybody knows where they are. Just south and east of that is a peak basically. It's one of the higher points. That west ridge to the north and west will be the northwest spur.
A mix of trainees from federal, state, county, and private backgrounds have descended for this training exchange. Bob Burr works fire lines in the rugged topography of Wyoming, but came east to Iowa for a fresh experience and a new certification.
The big thing is getting into a different fuel type than Wyoming, which I'm used to, a lot of sage, mountainous terrain, and to come out here in the Loess Hills where it's kind of rolling hills, more grass, different types of material and fuel models that I'm not used to burning. I'm actually here as an RXB2 trainee, which is a prescribed fire boss trainee, and basically a lot of it is just the planning. If a burn takes 1 hour to do, it's had at least 6 hours of, it's like a 6-to-1 ratio. I mean, there's a lot of planning involved in these.
The conditions that we're reading when we're reading weather are not quite as volatile as what we're seeing on the land. Fuels are really, really dry. And so there's a lot of heat coming out of them, and the fire's moving fast. But certainly it's not anything that the resources here can't handle. We've got pretty decent lines, we've got good resources, and they've got a good plan, so things are going really well.
Developing those plans amid varying environments is crucial for firefighting teams across the country. Recent years have witnessed dramatic outbreaks of wildfire in western states, and in 2013, tragedy for firefighters in Arizona. In western Iowa, the training exchange serves a dual purpose: educating the next generation of our firefighting front lines and rejuvenating the landscape. The prescribed burn wipes away much of the dry fuel as prairie flowers and grasses quickly regenerate.
We get a lot of phone calls that you're killing all the prairie flowers. There'll be nothing now. It's spring, they're going to come up, now they won't. And if you get a decent rain in 2 days, there'll be pasque flowers all over the hills. There's a lot of fire in the Loess Hills relative to other parts of Iowa, but still there's only about 1% of what should be burned ecologically a year that gets burned. And this is giving us the opportunity to put close to 1,500 acres of fire on the land if the weather permits.
Stone State Park, north of Sioux City, rests in the apex of 3 states. Visitors to the highest elevations can see the meandering Missouri River as it passes by South Dakota and Nebraska on the horizon. The northernmost point of the Loess Hills is just a few miles from this park.
These hills were formed over tens of thousands of years as wind-blown silt known as loess collected here. Glacial action had pulverized rock into fine quartz particles, and during dry spells, these particles were deposited into the bluffs of western Iowa. The expedition of Meriwether Lewis and William Clark navigated this river valley more than 200 years ago. At that time, the Dakota Sioux were the last Native American inhabitants of what is now northwest Iowa.
80 years after Lewis and Clark passed by the area now known as Sioux City, a local man named Daniel Hector Talbot began acquiring land in the hills surrounding town. Talbot was known around Iowa as a colorful resident of Sioux City in the decades following the Civil War. The local lawyer and amateur naturalist was known for his collection of animals, which included elk, bison, bears, wolves, and monkeys, not necessarily native species in the Loess Hills.
Talbot's land, minus the amateur zoo, was purchased by Thomas Jefferson Stone in 1895. His son Edgar would begin to develop a park here before the land was passed on to Sioux City, and later, the state of Iowa in 1935. And with that purchase, a gateway to the northern edge of the Loess Hills was made available to every Iowan. The nearby Dorothy Pico Nature Center is home to a walk under prairie, a 400-gallon aquarium of native fish, and bird viewing area. Visitors to the Dorothy Pico Nature Center can explore a variety of interpretive exhibits about the formation of the Loess Hills and the wildlife who make their home there.
The Woodbury County Conservation Board's education program offers year-round family programs, special events, adult classes, and youth summer camps.
So shooting in the dark, you want to turn your f-stop all the way down so it opens up the lens fully?
Woodbury County Conservation Board offers a variety of programs, including this camera class. The vast majority of the classes are free, and you can check out any of that information at woodburycounty.com.
It's very, does a great job of illustrating how the wind-blown soil is helping, move and continuing to shape and change.
You can see it moving right there.
Deposit.
The Nature Center is a perfect spot to grasp the topography of the Loess Hills before venturing back onto the trails of Stone State Park.
Similar to many parks in Iowa, Stone State Park visitors can thank a federal program known as the Civilian Conservation Corps for creating a backbone of trails and structures in the 1930s.
But in the decades since, this park has hosted countless Boy and Girl Scout camps, providing a gateway to outdoor exploration. But recreationists are always looking for a fresh way to reach a new generation.
At Jester Park in central Iowa, IPTV's Dan Wardell shows us how an innovative playscape is grabbing the attention of young Iowans.
I'm here with Loess Major from Polk County Conservation, and Loess, several years ago you had a big idea.
Yeah, that's right, Dan. I had an idea to create a play area using natural materials to get kids playing outdoors, in the outdoors. This is a living, breathing play area. It's not your static, jungle gym kind of set you see in the schoolyards. And that's really one of the underlying benefits of a natural playscape approach, is it provides so many layers of discovery and learning.
Now, you got some things like some of the things that kids can climb on and have fun and play around, they actually are decaying throughout the years. That's part of the learning experience as well.
Absolutely. Again, there's so many opportunities for discovery and learning out here. The old hollow log, when we put that out there, that was actually a basswood tree that was cut down near our other play area, oddly enough. All the bark was still on it, completely solid, completely whole. 5 years later, all the bark's been peeled off, it's beginning to decay, it's beginning to change, and kids understand and learn that process by visiting this play area year after year after year.
Now, I know this water area is a huge highlight for the place, but you also have a place with some sand and you can look for some fossils.
Yeah, we have a huge, what we call the archaeological digging area, about a 20-foot radius sand pit where we have 6 fossil plates buried beneath, where kids can dig in that all day and they may or may not hit one. I've had kids come out here and say, we never knew there were fossils there. And as soon as they discover one, they're like, game on. And they just, all they want to do is dig, 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 dig. And that's, they might find 2 and they have to go home, or the bus is leaving for their field trip. So I was like, man, I'm gonna come back. And next time they come back, the kids that have been here, they go right there because they know there's more fossils they haven't found. We have secretly kind of planted discovery opportunities in the playscape too, using a lot of art and sculptures and symbols and words and fossil plates and things like that. So, the kids might come to the water because it's obviously a draw, but then they begin to kind of walk away from the water and they go to the sand and they dig, and then they discover, and then they realize there are carvings in some rocks, but some rocks don't have carvings, and they begin to become more and more curious and branch out a little further away from the water. And then they see the art sculpture that's 200 yards away. And then they get a little further away from the water, they get further from the playscape. And we keep getting them deeper and deeper into the outdoors, and before they know it, they're halfway up Hickory Ridge Trail in the great outdoors, and the playscape was just that platform that got them there.
How unique is this thing that you've created in Iowa and in the United States?
It's very unique. It was one of the first of its kind in the nation, the first in Iowa, and now we're starting to see more and more of them develop in our state and around the Midwest and throughout the nation. I really am hopeful that this will become the new trend of play areas. It's the learning benefits that this type of play area can provide, not just to youth, but to adults, is limitless.
Magic can be found on a warm summer night in Iowa, and it's a natural wonder you're likely to find in your own front yard.
They're fireflies, and as a kid you may have captured them in a glass jar so you could take the glowing bugs inside and watch the magic as you fell asleep.
We met a man who spends a lot of time capturing fireflies, but he doesn't use a glass jar. He prefers a camera, and his photographs make it possible to enjoy the magic of bioluminescence year-round. Rahim Screiber works as a photographer-videographer at the Sky Factory in Fairfield, Iowa. The company creates a variety of products that allows people to enjoy the outdoors, even when they're limited by an indoor environment.
Sky Factory creates illusions of nature, and we build sky ceilings and virtual windows, which are portals into the nature. So we record natural scenes, and then we display it in healthcare environment primarily, especially in rooms where they don't have windows.
The photographs or videos that Rahim takes are framed in skylights or windows and illuminated from behind. The scene could be anything from a mountain stream to an ocean shoreline. As you gaze out the virtual window, an audio track adds to the illusion.
You know, they have made studies where these virtual windows and skylights, they directly affect the patient and their recovery rate. Yeah, so there's direct benefit with what we do.
Rahim's work takes him to beautiful places all over the world. But one of his favorite places to take photographs is only a short bike ride from where he lives. He goes there as day turns to night to try and capture with his camera the magic of bioluminescence found in fireflies. It's a passion that grew from photographing other insects while a student in college.
And as a student, I didn't have the resources and the time to travel. So being able to go in the backyard, you know, behind school, in the flower field, and find this incredible life that is happening right there, and then see it through the camera lens, capture it, and then show it and share it with other people. That was exciting. That was really exciting. So the fireflies was kind of the extension of my insect photography passion.
Rahim grew up in the Czech Republic. He says he only remembers seeing fireflies twice as a child.
You know, back in Czech Republic, there are very few fireflies. It's very rare to see them. When I came to United States, to Iowa, and the fields would illuminate with this flashing lights, it was just so amazing. It's magical.
When shooting fireflies, Rahim starts in the evening when they're just starting to come out and there's still enough light to be able to focus on a single firefly. Once it gets too dark to see and exposure times become longer, Rahim concentrates on capturing communities of fireflies.
I am exposing it long enough to see the contours of the trees and the grass. And as I do that in a long exposure, the fireflies are flashing. And every time there's a flash, it gets imprinted onto the digital chip of the camera. So at the end, the result is more fireflies than one can see at one moment.
Other than increasing his exposure times, Rahim doesn't manipulate the pictures he takes. He says he prefers to preserve the moment the way nature did it.
You know, I am all about the visual aesthetics, the beauty. You know, I like to capture the beauty. That's in my heart. I love that. I am not a scientist.
It is, however, the science of bioluminescence that makes fireflies seem so magical.
My favorite animals in the world are fireflies. I think that the two most fascinating things to have ever evolved in the living world are flight and bioluminescence, the ability of organisms to create their own light. And in fireflies, we see an animal that has evolved both.
Brendan Dunphy is a research associate at Iowa State University whose expertise is mosquitoes. However, Dunphy's passion is fireflies.
There are probably more species than what you think. There are actually 150 to 200 species in the United States, but we probably come across a handful every summer here in Iowa. Now, this happens to be Photinus pyralis, which is known as the pyralis firefly or the Big Dipper firefly because of the way that it dips in its path of flight.
According to Dunphy, the bioluminescence in fireflies serves two purposes. The first is to warn predators that they're poisonous and inedible. The second is to find a mate.
So you have to realize that when a firefly flashes, it communicates at least 3 pieces of information: its species, its sex, and its exact location. And those 3 things are really all you need to be able to find a mate.
Fireflies only bring the magic of bioluminescence to Iowa for a few short hours each night during the summer. It could be why people find them so interesting.
I don't think I can ever become tired of watching these things at night. They are one of the true wonders of the natural world, not only biologically, but also artistically.
Imagine melding an appreciation for the outdoors not just with your free time, but with your full-time career. That's the goal and journey of arborist Jeff Grewe.
With a keen eye toward proper pruning and nimble climbing, Jeff discovered success with a chainsaw, but he found inspiration through his camera lens, all right here in western Iowa's Loess Hills.
The Loess Hills it's just a word that doesn't have any meaning, nothing attached to it. It's a beautiful place that we should know about and that we should make an effort to preserve. And if you don't know about it, it may as well not exist, because it doesn't to you. And that's my effort, to wake people up to there's something there to care about.
For Jeff Grewe, the western rim of Iowa has special meaning. It's a natural landscape he visits to find himself and reconnect with nature. A setting he photographs under a full moon with dwindling light. A backdrop he may never have discovered if it wasn't for his first outdoor passion up above. On the opposite side of the Missouri River, you'll often find Jeff here in the treetops, climbing his way up and slicing his way back down.
And this time, this is a big enough piece. I want it to go this way, so I'm going to notch it and back cut it so that I can have control of the fall. It'll go right where I want it to go.
This is not the Loess Hills, but rather a small river valley enclave known as the Ponca Hills, north of Omaha, Nebraska. It's one of the locations where Jeff has fostered his business, Arbor Aesthetics, a tree pruning, trimming, and removal operation with a careful approach to natural landscape restoration. On an unseasonably cool summer morning, Jeff's team is clearing unwanted trees from a private acreage, opening up a natural landscape from the multi-generational growth of excess vegetation.
A lot of sugar maples, there's some really tall tulip trees. There are some cedars that I'm not familiar with that I've not seen anyplace else around here. So it's, I don't know, it's a real special property. It's sort of like this place and I were meant to come together. It's pretty neat.
Jeff didn't grow up dreaming he would one day trim trees. After high school, he studied everything from computer science to chemistry. But there was something about climbing high above the tree line that caught his attention.
It was this challenge. It was an adventure. Climbing trees is fun. I mean, so you're not bored when you're climbing a tree or swinging around or figuring out how you're going to rig this branch over a house. You're totally involved. It beats sitting at a desk.
Jeff's passion lured the Omaha native to an ecological destination across the Missouri River in Iowa, along the silty ridgeline of Loess soil.
2 years ago, you couldn't see anything other than just a wall of cedars here. There wasn't any grass growing.
Here at Folsom Point Preserve, south of Council Bluffs, volunteers spent more than a decade removing invasive cedar trees from the prairie landscape.
The more that you come to this place, the more that you discover the diversity that's here and the beauty that's here, or the beauty that remains. It's nothing like it used to be. The more evident it becomes, this is something which needs to be saved.
The restoration efforts may have been the draw for Jeff, but he brought something more than his chainsaw.
My best photos are taken at night. For some reason, I can see great dim light. And that ability in this place came together and made for a lot of beautiful photographs.
Jeff's work exudes a dreamlike scene, where prairie grasses blur slightly in the breeze and the moon burns bright as the sun amidst the starry sky.
So most of my photos here have been taken at night, and they're usually 15 to 30 seconds, sometimes 3-minute long exposure, and at night, diffuse light produces sort of a magical world that doesn't really exist, except for through the camera.
And he found a unique spot where light pollution, ironically, illuminated the landscape.
It unfortunately has this Bungie industrial plant across the street. It creates this beautiful light pollution at night. I mean, it's this half-mile stretch of really bright lights, and at night, it's just this gorgeous lighting.
Taking his long exposure efforts to the next level, Jeff used his DSLR for time-lapse imagery throughout the Missouri River Valley, a cascade of waste steam rising from a nearby coal plant, and a time-lapse of thunderstorms racing across the Nebraska plains towards western Iowa hillsides. For Jeff, it's easy to say what came first, the tree climbing before the photography. One career, another creative. Both are passions he hopes can illuminate the Loess Hills for anyone ready to discover the wild places in their own backyard.
Falling in love with trees woke something up inside me. And I began realizing that there was so much more there that, well, it's there, you just don't know it's there. There's a lot here to explore and to discover.
That wraps up this summertime edition of Iowa Outdoors. Be sure to check out our website with more than 60 features all about Iowa's outdoor conservation and recreation at iptv.org/Iowa Outdoors.
It's a visual tip sheet to help you rediscover your own backyard, regardless of whether you live closer to the Missouri or Mississippi rivers.
But before you check out what the rest of Iowa has to offer, we'll leave you with some images from our state's higher elevations, right here in northwest Iowa.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors was provided through a REAP Conservation Education Program grant. Up to $350,000 are available annually to support educational projects about Iowa's natural resources. Information is available at www.iowadnr.gov.
By Musco Lighting, the sports lighting specialist, providing lighting systems for you, your project, and your community.
Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on IPTV can be found in Iowa Outdoors magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.